When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. You're ready to move your business forward, but first, you need to find the right team. Start your search with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It can help you reach qualified candidates fast, ensuring your listing is the first one they see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. See the results for yourself. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of an offensive guard on the football field, but getting an elementary school crossing guard. Sure, they're both guards, but you can only trust one to keep your quarterback safe when the game is on the line. So don't settle for just any insurance when there's State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sosbans and Sidesteps podcast. My name is Huw. I'm joined by New Jon. Good evening, New Jon.
Good evening, Huw. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. I had to think about it for a second there. But yeah, we're going to be talking in this podcast about the Scarlets game against UBB. I'm going to be telling you about my experience going to Bordeaux to see the game, meeting the fans, watching the team. And John's going to tell you what it was like watching on TV.
Not as much fun. I'm gonna go with. So start with that. How was the trip to Bordeaux?
It was amazing. Bordeaux's beautiful. I've been very lucky this year. I've been able to go to Provence for a rugby match and Bordeaux for a rugby match. I would say that I probably, on balance, prefer Aix-en-Provence. I don't know how to say that properly, but that was very, very beautiful. And there was times in Bordeaux where there was quite strong smells. So Rosbeef, shout out Rosbeefs, who's an English language French rugby podcast, sent me a list of things to do about as long as your arm. I was like, dude, I'm here for 2 days. Calm down. But he said, go to this market. So I went to this market and we were walking around. And there was this bit in the middle where there was the smell of raw meat, the smell of raw fish, spices, and sewage, all in the same place. And it all hit me at the same time. And when you've got the worst hangover of your life, that is tantamount to a near-death experience.
And why did you have the worst hangover of your life?
Because after the game, we went out into town. I was with my friend Maz. We were pondering afterwards, how does Maz cope with this lifestyle? And we've arrived at the conclusion that she's just always drunk. I met Ed Jenks. Shout out Ed Jenks. I met a bunch of Scarlets fans. Shout out David and James, who I met at various points. Thank you for coming to say hello to me. Shout out Sam Costello's dad, who came over and said hello to me. I walked past a bar, and it was all full of Scarlets fans. And I put out a post on Twitter during the day and said, hey, if you see a guy who's kind of tall, kind of skinny, wearing a hat, come say hi. And I was walking past this bar, and this nice lady grabbed me by the wrist and said, hey, kind of tall, kind of skinny, wearing a hat. And I was like, guilty. And she was like, come with me. And she dragged me into this bar to meet a load of Scarlets fans. And they said, hey, podcast, give us a song. Podcast, give us a song. And I completely bottled it and didn't sing a single note and left in her very sheepish circumstances. But then went to another bar, and later in the night, a bunch of the Scarlets players came in. So I got to chat to them. Now, I shall not reveal who I met or what was said. However, on an unrelated note, the following players are world class, and I will never hear a bad word said about them. Henry Thomas, Dan Davis, Tommy Lewis. Tommy Lewis is a bad person. Archie Hughes, Kemsley Mathias, Sam Costello, and Josh McLeod.
This is the good list. This isn't the naughty list.
Tommy Lewis is on the naughty list.
Is the naughty Lewis just Tommy Lewis?
Yes, because someone who looked an awful lot like Tommy Lewis said, hey, do you want a whiskey? And I said, no. And he said, I'm getting you one. And I had a very odd moment where I was talking to one of the players and I was explaining something very articulately and enthusiastically with my right hand. And in my left hand, I had a glass of red wine. This is just my lifestyle. This is just what I do. And I was explaining something. And then simultaneously, Maz came round with another glass of red wine that I did not need at that moment. So I grabbed that with my left hand, and then Tommy Lewis comes, or someone like Tommy Lewis came over with the whiskey, and I held that in my left hand because I was that engrossed in explaining to the Scarlets player something that he definitely didn't already know. With my right hand,
you podsplained to a player.
Ended up holding 3 drinks with my left hand, but I was that just deep. And this player was looking at me like, "Oh, we got to get this guy on the coaching staff. I never knew any of this." And then it goes a bit hazy from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Tommy Lewis only on the negative list because he bought you a drink. Is the
it was the one that put me over the edge. It was the one that was the one. It was the straw that broke the camel's back.
He's a bad influence. Is the point? Don't put him in the not even the match day 23. He can't be traveling reserve. He's gonna. He's a bad impact.
I will say that other than being responsible for my hangover on the Sunday, I did not observe him doing anything untoward.
That you can remember.
That I can remember.
Yeah, that would be. I think that's the important part to include in that. And
yes.
And anything else that came from your big night out? Your big bash?
Just about the actual rugby match that I went to. Firstly, I've mentioned a couple of the fans that I was lucky enough to meet who came and said hi. Really appreciate that, guys. If any of us on the pod are ever out and about and you see us at any games, please come and say hi to us. It makes our day. It was so funny in the departure lounge on the way back because there was in Bordeaux airport there was a plane to Gatwick and a plane to Luton leaving within 10 minutes of each other, and the departure lounge was all like, God, I love being a Scarlets fan. I wouldn't change it for anything. We're not a diverse bunch, and there was a lot of men of a certain age dressed in because it was cold, like multiple Scarlets like garb, like polo shirts, hat, scarf, coats. VX3 must be making millions off us. The amount of stuff that I saw. So it was so funny. The whole departure lounge was just that. But yeah, so saying hi to people is awesome, and seeing UBB was awesome, even though we lost. UBB fans are class. Everything about that rugby club is only about serving the fan experience, like to the point where the players were announced coming onto the pitch for the warm-up. They did their warm-up, and then at the end of the warm-up, they formed into a little formation and did like a mini lap of honor after the warm-up and then went in. They did a lap of honor before the game.
So thanking everyone for coming early to watch them practice their up and unders.
There was a foam machine next to the Christmas tree. And I had the best hot dog I've ever had. It was like a croque monsieur, but a hot dog.
Wait, so you're talking obviously hot dog in a bun with a bechamel, a brioche bun, bechamel over the top, Gruyere as well, and then
you're testing me now. Melted cheese,
an egg.
Oh, I didn't know it's an egg. That would have been a croque madame hot dog.
Madame, yeah, croque madame dog. Yeah, that sounds pretty good though. Okay, I'm a big fan of ranking like stadium food. How much are you paying for a croque monsieur hot dog in the UBB stadium?
God, I have no idea. It's important on podcast when you're thinking to make thinking noises.
Dun, 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 dun,
I want to say €7.
That's pretty reasonable, I feel like, in a stadium.
Pretty normal. It's not the prettiest. A lot of people say that Bordeaux's a pretty stadium. It's not really. It's a bit. No. The missus described it as a bit Berlin. It's concrete, and then do you fancy some more concrete?
It reminded me of it. It reminded me of the Carmarthen Quins ground if they decided to go a bit more brutalist with it. Like, because you've got at the Quins ground, you've got the sort of old velodrome concrete like around the outside of it. If you just put 30,000 seats around it, that's what it would look like in my mind.
Right. Okay. I have to say that I don't really know how they're making any money from hospitality, because the hospitality boxes didn't look stunning, I'll be honest. And also, they lose big marks for their cheerleaders were extremely underwhelming.
Okay, but isn't it? You were saying last week that they've had a sort of meteoric rise in terms of like fan growth. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you were saying the football team tanked just as the rugby team were improving, and they are the most well-attended top 14 club. Is that
The
correct?
most well-attended club in the world, I want to say. However,
Oh.
I've just seen some stats from the Japanese league, and their average attendance in Japan is like 19,000. That's across the league, which means there's someone in there who's probably dragging the average up. So I have heard the Japanese clubs do get like stupid massive crowds. Although I don't know, I'd need to ask somebody, but because they're like the company's club, I wonder if like everybody at the
Mm.
company has to go.
And also, it was opening weekend this weekend for the League One, I think, in
Yeah.
Japan. So that probably skews things a little bit as well.
Hmm.
But that, for
So
argument's sake, let's just say that Bordeaux was the most well-attended club in the world, and they
yeah,
they were up until last weekend.
yeah. The loudest cheer of the night, apart from me when we went in the lead, um, where I stood up and I let all the other 30,999 people know about it. Um, the loudest cheer of the night was for Louis Bielbiare's try, which was a bit of a nothing try for him. But obviously,
Yeah.
they just love him that much that um, they just loudest cheer of the night. Like I said, they always I don't know if you've ever been to like other grounds. I'm going to name and shame
Mm,
Gloucester, where an opposition player makes a mistake and you get the Eeyore noises and you get the way and you get the jeering and stuff. UBB
mm,
fans couldn't care less about what the opposition are doing. Like it is party time in that stadium,
mm.
and it is like they could be playing against 7 bin men and eight milkmen, and they'd still get 32,000 fans turn up and cheer, and they really aren't asked. And I went in the shop, and the only thing that I could afford was this lion.
Oh, he's gorgeous. Yeah, wonderful. And was that from the shop in the town square or the shop at the stadium?
That was the shop in the town square where I went in wearing a scarlet top, and the lady behind, a lady behind the counter said, "Have you considered changing sides?" And I said no. And then when I left, she said, "Good luck," and not in a kind of good luck kind of way, just like a good luck kind of way. Um, which it was a little bit
She,
rude, I thought. Um, and everything in that shop was extremely expensive. And I bought a scarf. This last bit, and then we'll talk about the rugby. I'm sorry, everybody.
no,
I
no,
bought
no.
a
We
scarf
need
and
the tour guide elements.
I gave it to the missus. It was sat beside me because before we went, we she was asking me about the game, and she goes, "Are you going to wear your Scarlets jersey or your UBB jersey?" Because I own one. And I said, "Well, Scarlets jersey, obviously." And she went, "But they're going to lose, aren't they?" And I said, "Well, it could happen." And she said, "Well, can I have your UBB jersey? Because I want to be on the winning team." And towards the end of the game, like when they score, SI is French for try, right? And when they score, they go SI like that. And then like by like their seventh try, I just heard this little voice next to me going SI. I was like, "Whose side are you on?" She's like, "I'm having a nice time. Leave me alone."
I mean, that's it. If the experience is that good on the field and off the field, then why wouldn't you want to be an UBB fan? But there you go. I'm
They're
having
the
the
coolest
same
French club.
conversation. I'm having the same conversation because we are planning on being at the Dragons game on New Year's Day, and I've already been asked if I have a because I do have a couple of Dragons jerseys. I've been asked, oh, that's the black and yellow is quite nice. So I think I'm actually gonna accidentally bring a Dragons fan with me to Rodney Parade that day. But yeah, what can you do? After she sees the play back and forth between the two of us, I know who she'll choose. So
After she sees Fletcher Anderson, she's not going to want to see the Dragons again. She might also not want to
no,
see you again, though, mate. So
that is true. That is true. Yeah. Sad times.
yeah,
Not a bad game he had. Not a bad game the rest of the boys had, despite the scoreline. No, it was.
there was there was that headline, wasn't there, about chastening result for the Scarlets? I was like, what? Why are we being
Yeah.
compared to like they're having to beat the European champions, and the rest of them are beating up bums in the you're not even good enough to get in our competition, and they're all amazing apparently.
Yeah, it's and also when you factor in that then you've got Glasgow, who are one of the three teams that are unbeaten now in the Champions Cup, and it was only a couple of weeks ago that we nilled them. So
Exactly.
I think our first block of games was there's no way around it. The first block of games was pretty poor. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think we've talked about that before. We don't need to rehash it now. I think this block so far is going fantastically well.
Oof,
Obviously,
I don't know about that.
oh
But
no, no, no. I'm really positive about this block so far. I think getting a few players back, I think getting Eddie James back has been absolutely massive for the attack. It actually
he's
looks like it
so
can
good.
function
Every time
properly now.
I've said this 1,000 times on the pod. Every time I see him in real life, I'm like, God, you're good at rugby. What was it that you noticed about him changing positions as well?
So last week he was named in 13. He was named at 13, and Johnny Williams was in at 12, wasn't it? I
Hmm.
think I'm thinking about it. And obviously this week, then it was like, no, 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 that experiment. We don't care about that. We're gonna name him at 12, Joe Roberts at 13, and that generally is like how we've often attacked. That's the formation that we've seen them line up a lot of the time. I don't know if what you thought in the stadium, because obviously watching it on TV, you can't really see the backfield so clearly. But the
Hmm.
feeling I was getting for the first half was that we were trying to do our standard thing of, okay, we set up our ruck, nice and deep, and we pass to first receiver, in this case Hawkins, and then Hawkins has got a decision to make in this place, or any first receiver has a decision to make. Look at the space. Am I kicking behind the line? Is there space there? Where's the winger? Is the winger pressing? Is he holding back? Now, normally, because we like to pass wide, as soon as it goes to first receiver and they start to shape to move out, you can often see that winger come into a press position or start moving into a press position. Peno and Beep Beep, they didn't do that. They just stayed back. And this meant that that little extra second that was there, I thought, watching from home, it's not perfect, is it? It looked like that extra second of hesitation was allowing the defense that time to drift out. Later on, I could see Eddie James was moving into the 13 position instead of the 12 position. And I think because he's such a trusted decision maker in the attack, that if they metaphorically offload that decision making to him there, and it's further out, by this point, the winger has to have already made a decision. Yeah, so if they haven't come into press, fantastic, we can pass wide. And we saw Ellis Mee, I think, get some change out of that in the second half as well.
We did.
And if they have come into press, then you've got the kick option because you can beat them on the turn. But just by moving him into that 13 position in the game, I thought we really saw a bit of a bit more variety in how we went to attack, especially in the second half when Costi came on as well. It's worth saying.
Yes. And I am reliably informed that the plan for this game was to kick contestable. And I have to say that the kicking in the first half was particularly poor. And there was one in particular that was so poor it actually cost us a try to be conceded, which was disappointing. I thought it got better in the second half. It's one of those, John. We got battered, but we didn't, but we did. Like, we've taken 50. I think 36. I think I was so gutted we didn't get a try bonus. I was convinced we were going to get one, and we so nearly did. There were periods in the game that we were on top. There was one in the first half which culminated in that Ellis Mee high challenge being called back for the most home team decision you've ever seen in your life. Basically, the fans just booed the referee until he gave them the decision in their favour. And then in the second half, we had some great opportunities in the second half. Didn't quite convert them. The Scarlets, nearly good, trademarked.
Do you know something on one side that was really, really nice in this though was when's the last time that you can remember us reliably scoring off pick and goes? Like that's not something that we do to that extent. So often, like three tries that came from one was a pass from the base of a ruck at the 5 meter, but the other two were pick and goes. A bit of variety in how they were scored.
The first one was really nice. Captain Josh standing in at 9 and putting a ball out the back. That was a really nice bit of deception. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and Douglas running the dummy line.
Yeah,
which was taken by two of the Ube defenders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because last season we were set piece team. I like our try of the season compilation last season was amazing, but also quite short because we scored beautiful tries, but not very many of them. I feel like this year we're trying to be better in phase play and trying to go through more phases and be a team that can play in possession. We were playing against the ultimate counter-attacking team in UBB. I think they're the best counter-attacking team in the world because they got the two best wingers in the world in Matty Jalibert, who's quite good, as we found out. And yeah, it was like good thing, good thing, good thing, bad thing. Ball given away. Try to the opposition.
But that's it. They only need one mistake to capitalize on.
It's a classic, like
that's it.
you know, when people say like at this level you can't afford to make those mistakes. Like this is that level. That level that they're talking about there is this level.
Yeah. I mean that I can never pronounce his name, so I just call him Beep. BLBRA, is it?
You're supposed to say like the letters BLBRA.
BLBRA. BLBRA. BLBRA. Okay. Oh, he's appeared in my mirror now. I've said it 3 times.
You could just say LBB as well. Everyone just calls him LBB.
The thing with LBB, who plays for Ube, is that he really, he's just such a quick decision maker. When he sees the opportunity, he knows to press for it, and that's the try that he scored in this, wasn't it? It was, if you look, Eddie James hesitates for not even 2 seconds, like half a second, to think about what he's doing in that situation. And in the lead up to that, what do we have? We have the break from me down the left side.
Yeah.
And then Archie Hughes passes off quickly to Douglas, who runs up. And this was, if I have like a bugbear to put on from the performance in this game, and maybe the last couple of games in general, I felt like Douglas was running. He was in a great position to take that. And what do you want there? You want him to go to ground. You want to get some quick ball, and you want to pass out wide. There was no one there to clear out. You know, Archie Hughes had to go in himself and clear that out, and then call in his receiving pod to like come and do the job, secure the ruck, and then get back into position so they could start the next play. And I feel like when they lost the rhythm, that's where some of that hesitation then comes on later on for James's play there. So it's a tough one. I felt generally, and I do generally feel like our ruck speed is quite slow for a team.
Yeah, I agree.
For a team that's coached by like, I would consider like Dwayne. Yeah, it's like one of the best scrum halves I think Wales has produced in the modern era. Like, why is our ruck speed so slow? And maybe it's just the average because we love a box kick, especially when Gareth Davis is on. We love a box kick. So maybe it's just the average skewing, but like our average ruck speed was over 5 seconds in this game. It was like 5.5 seconds.
I'll tell you now. I've got Robbie Pass open. So of our 88 rucks, only 36% were less than 88 seconds. Sorry, only 36% were less than 3 seconds out of the 88, which in real terms is like about 30 rucks below 3 seconds. Whereas you compared, so do the maths, about 60 that were longer. That's quite a lot.
It's just I was looking back after the game at a few of our other games this season, and just generally seeing that our rucks, and I found an article that it was posted by the URC, I think just before the season began, which said that we had the lowest ruck speed last season. And I was trying to like, why? And I haven't got an answer for it.
I think that's because we didn't have many rucks last season. I think that's why. It's because the only time that we actually went through rucks, because like I said, we were a set phase attack team, like first phase team. There's no rucks. And the try, who scored it now? I think it was Tian Jacobs scored it. But it was a chip over, it was another chip by Jalibert.
Mm-hmm.
It was a poor kick from Hawkins. It goes straight to Damien Penaud. So it literally goes Damien Penaud, Louis Bilbierre, and then Martin Pedrello, and then Matty Jalibert. They all engage the line, but there's no ruck. They all get an offload away. There's no ruck involved in that. And then Jalibert eventually does the chip. He's up against three type 5 forwards and chips over them and goes past it. It was something that was amazing to watch when UBB were attacking towards me was how Damien Penaud was always running against low number players. He was always running against type 5 forwards. Like how does he manage to make this happen every single time? So I think going back to it, I think the reason that we had slow rucks is that last season we didn't want rucks, so it was either pick and goes, which tend to be slower, or it was exits, which tend to be slower. By the way, how bad are our restarts?
I was trying to think about. I was thinking earlier, like hypothetically, if I'm talking to Cardiff and I'm trying to think like, oh, how do you beat us? I would say, oh, just every single restart, just kick it shallow and hang it high. Like that's all you've got to do, and we won't score it. Like it's a real problem. It wasn't as bad in this game, I felt, as against Bristol, but it is the sort of thing that you need to have. Like at this point we need to start talking about having like dedicated training sessions during the week to work on it, or strategy. I don't really know like what is actually specifically wrong with it. Is
It's
it
just indecision,
mentality?
I think. Because they put like a lifting pod up, but they normally miss it, and then there's just not the kind of guy in there to clear up. That's why we were in the lead for so little time, is because the restart straight after we just give the ball away. And even last season, even when we would catch it, Gareth Davis's kicks were that short that like a restart after the Scarlets scored a try, a restart might as well have been a line out to them on R22. That's how all of our restarts looked. Even in the game where we beat the Bulls, our restarts were terrible in that game. So yeah, that's probably one of the main things. In the ground, I was absolutely raging about the number of penalties we were giving away, especially the penalties that we were giving away when we had the ball. I was like, if you give away defensive penalties, I can kind of say that's because of pressure. But when we have the ball, you can't, like, it was daft little stuff. However, having watched it back on TV since, I do think there were some very soft calls that went against us.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, before going in on anything that happened officiating wise, I generally thought the officiating was pretty good. Didn't really have a problem with much of it. I feel a little bit aggrieved about the yellow card, just because I don't know, because I texted you this before you watched it.
Yeah.
I think saying that I feel that that's knocked on and it's dropped, and then there's like no ruck formed for there to be an offside. I can understand how someone might have a different interpretation of that. What did you think about that?
So in the ground live, and I was sitting at the wrong ends to see it properly, but it felt like a stone wall because I saw Jared Taylor go for the ball and obviously not win it cleanly. And I was like, oh, line break. If you've touched the ball and it's gone bowled away or something, that's normally a yellow card. So I can understand why the referee gave it in the moment. I think if he TMOs it, which you very rarely see that kind of thing TMO'd, but I think if he TMOs it, he sees that Damien Penaud actually knocks the ball on, and then Jared Taylor goes to pick it up. So for me, it was the wrong decision. However, it's not one that I get super angry at because I can see why in the moment that most referees, seeing those pictures, would give a yellow card for that one. We actually scored while we were down a man.
Yeah, just so I completely agree with that yellow with your analysis on the yellow. Like I'm not upset about it at all. It's just like in as it was happening in front of as it was happening on my TV in front of me, I thought, yeah, that's a stone cold yellow. What's he done? Like that's ridiculous. It was only on the repeat, and I think who was on comms? Shane Williams, I think, was on comms. Sort of saying like, oh, yeah, that's quite lucky for UBB to have that decision made. But yeah, and which was that the Henry Thomas try that was no, there was the second Fletcher Anderson try that was scored
Yes, when we
during
were
the
down a
yellow
man.
card period. Yeah,
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 through pick and goes.
that was nice.
I thought
Yeah,
we
I
finished the
actually,
game the stronger. Sorry, go on.
no, please.
I was going to say, I thought we finished the game the stronger team. Now part of that is the game was safe for UBB and they took some players off. we brought some players on, and actually, if we kind of pivot to talk about the selection a little bit, we kind of said it in the group chat when the team was announced that that's probably our most impactful bench that we've picked all season. And to be fair, we've hammered Dwayne Peel a lot for this. I thought he used it well. I think bringing Costello on when he did was a good move. And I think it had a positive impact. I thought that Max Page brought that impact from the bench. He had a couple of really nice moments. I thought that Jack Davis grew into the game. I thought that he finished the game strongly. And I thought that we finished the game looking the fitter team, weirdly.
Yeah, when I sort of think of the stereotype of what I imagine or how I imagine Bordeaux to play, I imagine them just very fast, helter-skelter, sort of almost chaotic. And so the fact that we came out still holding our pace, not overrunning, not underrunning, everything, it looked like we'd been trained perfectly well for the game plan we wanted to put out. I will echo your sentiments on Jack Davis. I think it's absolutely incredible when he's had, what did he have? Two or three URC starts last season, or maybe one or two starts and then one off the bench a couple of weeks ago. He's playing in the SRC, and then you blink and you're playing against Bordeaux away. So it's fantastic for him. He looked good in an attack as well, didn't he? He showed up in the line a couple of times, and he didn't look out of place at all. And I felt like, as a sort of understudy in play style to Blair Murray, not a million miles away. Obviously, nowhere near sort of like the finished product there or what we would expect in terms of like how close he is in skill set or anything. But you can see that he has the raw materials for it. And you think over time he will come good. The bench in general, we all thought this is the strongest bench we've seen in a long time if they actually go out there and play. Really fantastic that we saw Costello on before the 50th minute. Yeah, really good that we saw. I didn't think we'd see Archie Hughes until like 75 minutes. Really good that he got some proper game time.
I think he was a good impact.
I think he was a good impact generally. I think his kicking was a little.
He had one.
He
really
seemed a little bit
kick.
rusty. Yeah. But other than that, he was really solid. Max Page looked really good when he came on. Really, in the very limited amount of time he was on the pitch, he had a great impact.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many good backs, and I just don't know where to put them all. What did you think of Hawkins? Because I generally thought like it was. Overall, I thought his play was good. Obviously, he had the kicks from hand that didn't look so good. But what was your feeling watching him?
I thought his attempts to put up contestable kicks were poor. I don't know whether that's an area of game that he needs to work on. Obviously, I can expect based on his playing career so far that is the kind of thing he's been required to do one of the least, being a centre by trade up until now. So I'm not saying that he's always going to be poor. It's something that he can't do. I thought there were some, and to be honest, I don't think that the chase was amazing, but there were some kicks that were kind of neither here nor there. So I think that was a shame. Other than that, his kicking from the tee is good. We got all of our conversions in this game, and I think he's robust. And like I say, I can see it more with him than I ever did with Johan Lloyd, in my opinion. I still think that he is the perfect 22 wearer because he can come in at 12 as well. And say if we've got Eddie James or Johnny Williams playing 12, if we change it to be him, then that's a big change. And that completely changes the pitches for the defensive team. So, yeah, I don't know how much I learned more about him. I don't think he was a standout, but my expectations of him as a player are that he's learning because he's been signed as a 10 and he hasn't played 10 professionally. So I'm not going to hammer him. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
No, and before I say anything about him, I think what you said about him being a better fit than Lloyd, I 100% agree, and I think Lloyd was always sort of run first, pass kick, whereas I feel that Hawkins is more of a pass run slash kick. Like pass is the first option that comes, and I think for a 10, that's probably the better option. We know that Sammy can run, we know that Hawkins can run. So it's better when we see them take in my opinion, for this game plan, it's better that they take the other option or one of the other options before that. I am so undecided as to whether or not he wears 22 or 12. I know exactly what you mean. He's such a good bench option because he covers so much. I really, I think, I think Eddie James might be able to do a job at 13 after seeing how he does in attack. I feel like I need to see him defend more in that position. We need more games like the Bristol game, maybe, to sort of see how he takes that. But
There was a period in the second half where or it might have been late in the first half actually, where he made 2 try-saving tackles. I think his defense, when I watch him in person, it's something that I always notice more than when I watch him on TV, is how good his defense is. So I think he can do a 13. And like I said last week, when he started at 13, I wouldn't be surprised if Team Wales ask for him to start playing at 13. Because if they're going to carry on with the second 10 at 12, then they need the big lump at 13. And my personal opinion, other people are completely free to disagree if they'd like to. My personal opinion is I think that Eddie James can be a lot better than Max Llewellyn.
I think his ceiling is higher. I don't know if I would say he's better than Max Llewellyn at the moment. I'd say they could be equal. Max Llewellyn, I always think he's not just, but he is a very powerful north-south runner. And I think that while James is strong on the carry, it's not quite in such a sort of destructive way normally. So I can see Llewellyn having the edge on him in terms of that. However, that shouldn't preclude him from getting caps, and that shouldn't preclude him from getting into camp and actually being able to have an effect. But in terms of just Wales stuff in general for a second, like I think the centre selection is going to be really interesting. When we come to Six Nations, I hope he gets in there for his own career's sake. But yeah, I think, again, this is the same problem that we've been talking about for 3 weeks. We have very good backs. We don't know where to fit them. We don't know where they should play. We feel strongly who should start, but we don't know in what positions, or even if they should, in the case of Hawkins, should they start, should they be on the bench? It's a nice problem to have. But I don't think we're going to find the answer to it this week. But I think there's an alternative formation there that could work.
Yes.
Bringing Hawkins off the bench late in a game against a team that we don't see as having a massive threat if we are potentially doing well in a game, bringing Hawkins off the bench to put him into 12, putting James to 13, Costello at 10. I would like to see it just to see if it works. But I am a little bit crazy, so that's fair enough.
Okay. Yep. Well, I think we've talked about that game quite a lot now. So I'll just say, if you've got thoughts about the game, you can either let us know on Spotify or you can let us know on YouTube down in the comments. We'd love you to get involved in the conversation. The person who replies to the comments on YouTube is producer Lee, formerly of this podcast. He may take no prisoners. Look, it's up to you, but I don't want to discourage you from commenting, so I'll just ask you to. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel or following us on whatever audio platform you are listening to this on, and follow us on Twitter at Sosbans and Sidesteps. Everywhere, the same thing. Google it, you'll find us. Right. Should we do community? I've got to do community again. But you can talk, because you've become, in the last 3 weeks, New Jon, have become an SRC Nors.
Yes, let's really build that up to a level that I can match. Yeah, if by SRC Nors you mean I watch the 1-3 game on Espedwar Echraion once a week, then yes, I am a Nors. You watched that as well, though, no?
I watched
The
bits of it
Carmarthen Cardiff.
because the school's final was on at the same time, which we'll also be talking about in this section. So results first. Let's talk about that Thursday game first. Carmarthen Quins against Cardiff. This one went down to the wire, John.
Yeah, this went down to Carmarthen knocking on the door repeatedly for the last 5 minutes, I want to say. I only watched it live. I haven't watched it back. Um, I think we saw some really nice play at times from Scarlet Academy prospect Ellis Price,
Mm-hmm.
um, who really controlled elements of the attack very nicely. We had Yori Badam in at 15 as well, not looking too shabby himself. And very high scoring game as well, I felt, 26-31 for
Considering the weather.
Cardiff away from. Sorry?
Considering the weather.
Considering the weather, it looked bloody freezing there. And yeah, I've spent my fair amount of time in the park in Carmarthen, and I can tell you it is not a nice place to be when it is that cold.
One of the main,
But
I got messages off so many people this weekend. Sorry, I'm talking about Bordeaux again, saying it will be cold. I was walking around without a coat on. It wasn't cold at all. Anyway,
yeah, can you wear a
so
coat on a cold day in Carmarthen?
yeah,
Can
it
you
was it
can
was
you do it
cold.
on
It
a
was a
rainy day?
lot colder in Luton Airport than it was in Bordeaux. I'll tell you that for free. Anyway, turning out from the academy, we had Ben Williams, RL. Hmm.
RL.
Hmm.
Very sorry, RL.
Lloyd,
Mm,
something Reese Lloyd. That feels like a decent guess. Richie Lewis.
I have enough time to open the academy page.
No, just go on the command and team sheet. Anyway, we'll come
That would
back to
make
you,
way more
RL.
sense.
Ellis Price, CW, Gabe
Uh, Callum Woolley.
Callum Woolley, Gabe McDonald, and Yuri Badham. And then in the other SRC game, we had Swansea taking on Llandovry, and the Drovers romped home in this one, 32 points to 5. And we had Josh Morse, Kai Jones, and Tian Sparrow was on the bench. So good win for the Drovers there. They seem to be back where they were last season. Moving on down into the Premiership, Narberth won 25 points to 14 away to Llangennith, and Smithly Wanderers went down 9 points to 36 away at Newbridge. Tough old season for the ones so far, but they're newly promoted in the league. Moving now into the Championship West, we had Aberystwyth lost at home, 19 points to 26 to Tata Steel. Gosainon lost away to Ammanford, 45 points to 17. Bonamine beats Newcastle Emlyn, 26 points to 3. And then Crummock lost to Gleneath, 45 points to 21. So some tough results in there. Anyway, going down into Division 2 West, we had Betis lost at home 23 points to 43 against Whitland. Nantgaredig lost away to Carmarthen Athletic, 36 points to 19. Pencloud, very tight game away to Flucker. It's not pronounced like that, I know. 29 points to 31, they lost. Division 3 West, we had Cardigan defeating Trimsauer 52 points to 10. Oosh, my goodness. And then we had Narberth, a very narrow loss, 24 points to 22 away to Neyland. Division 4 West A, you had Newcastle Emlyn Dregiai losing at home 9 points to 15 to Pontebellum. St David's defeated Langham 36 points to 15. Llanybudder lost at home. A lot of home defeats this weekend is what I'm learning. Llanybudder lost to Benbrook Dock 21 points to 40. And Tenby Athletic defeated Pembroke 41-39 away. My goodness, what an absolute thriller. I'm sorry, Mart, I'm not going to read out the fixtures. It's going to take forever. Where should I go now? We've got Division 1 West. Oh, I've missed that. That felt like it should have come before. Anyway, is this the women's? No. Bury Port defeated Lampeter 26 points to 7. Hendy versus Kidwelly was abandoned. I don't know the reason why. I'm very sorry. I assume it was the weather. St Clair's defeated Lochan. New John, help. Larn. Thank you.
Lan.
10 points to 3. Proper rugby. Swansea Uplands defeated Fellinvole 41 points to 17. And it was a draw between One Eyelid and Tenby. 24 all. My goodness, what a game. And then we had the Women's Rugby Cup the WRU Cup. Yes, the W stands for Wales, not women. That makes sense. Um, you've reacted to something new, John. Tell us more.
Yeah, not something nice. I just wanted to look it up because I have an interest in both Kidwelly and Hendy. Apparently, the game was called off due to a serious injury to a Kidwelly player. So, thoughts with Cam, apparently, who had the injury.
Okay, all the best, Cam. Any news on who RL is?
Rodri Lewis, scrum
Rodri
half.
Lewis. Sorry, mate. Anyway, in the Women's Cup, we had Bury Ports defeated. Oh, for goodness sake. Asenbull? That's
Anis,
not right.
Anis Ubel.
Unusable. Thank you. 55-7. And then Lampeter versus Unus Do.
The
Unus the. Thank you. I'm really
Yeah, as
sorry,
in like
everybody.
the Anis, the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was postponed. Yeah. In the women in the WRU Bowl, we had Blackwood lost 7 points to 57 to Pembroke, and Newcastle Emlyn ladies was postponed against Penny Greig. That one didn't happen. And then we had the Dewar Shield final, which we all started off watching. He hasn't updated. Oh no, he has updated the score. He's written it the wrong way round. Unfortunately, Llethley did not defeat Pontypridd. 27 points to 8. It was the other way around.
Yeah, that was a big shame. That was a good game. The first what, 50? Oh wait, no, 35-minute halves in the Duo Shield. So what, the first 40 to 45 minutes? Very, very close. Really
Yeah.
enjoyable game. And
If anybody from the schools is watching, you gave it a hell of a go, boys. What a occasion it was to get to play in the stadium, getting to the final for the first time in however many years, to have the first shot at title since the 60s, I think it was. I thought we played some great stuff. There was some exciting rugby played. I want to shout out the number 8, whose name escapes me. I thought that he absolutely loved a bit of contact. I really enjoyed watching him play.
he was scary. As a 32-year-old man, I do not want to tackle that boy. That was, yeah, just I cannot wait to see him make it through the academy and start for the Scarlet sometime in the future. What a guy.
Yeah. And fair play to Ponty. Obviously, back-to-back champions now. Obviously, a good team. So can't complain. There is now the cup to talk about. I'm not sure which cup this is. So we got the cup. The remaining teams in the cup from the Premiership is Llethley Wands, from the Champ is Newcastle Emlyn. Then we got Division 1 from Tenby. No one left from Division 2. From Division 3, you got New Dog Stars, Llandilo and Tumble. And from Division 4, you've got Llangadog, Pontyberem and Tenby Athletic. So in the Division 2 Cup, I'm not sure which order he's done this in, to be honest, Marts. Your spreadsheet isn't that clear. Oh, by the way, Division 2 West Sentinel, did we say Brynhaman won against Bryce Kethin, 21 points to 16. The Division 2 Cup, Fishguards lost at home, another home loss. So Aberavon Quins, 5 points to 31. Newport Saris, 25-24 victors over Abereron. Beautiful place, Abereron. I've been there. Division 3, Llandilo won their game, 29 points to 22. Maesteg Celtic lost at home to Tumble, 19 points to 36. New Dock Stars, get in, boys, won their game, 32 points to 25 against Tonna. And
At home as well.
a home win. And then
A rare
Nayland's
home
game,
win.
Nayland's game was a walkover. I don't know to whom. It doesn't say on the spreadsheet. And then in the Division 4 Cup, Bonamine Athletic defeated Pantafunon, 40 points to 12. Ponce Yates lost at home, another home loss, 8 points to 43. And then Tony Raphael defeated Pennybank, 27 points to 14. Right. I think that's the end of that.
Lots of community.
And I didn't even read out the fixtures. Imagine how long it would have been. Anyway,
We are very grateful for all community listeners.
what's our next game?
I'm nervous to say it because no, actually, I'm not too nervous about it. I feel reasonably optimistic about playing Cardiff.
Ed Jenks is very optimistic. He says that their run of form is built on sand and we're going to destroy them. And one of the Scarlets players also expressed to me high levels of confidence that they were going to win. So there you go. Any
My
questions?
my concern about Cardiff is, so I watched the Ulster game. I watched it back yesterday. I know they've been getting a little bit of a few comments saying, "Oh, a large amount of it was luck, and Ulster didn't really turn up and all this." This is not the Ulster of last season. I think I've watched all of Ulster's games. This is a good Ulster team.
They are good.
They are good, and they did not bring a severely weakened side to the Arms Park. Um, so whether or not you consider it lucky or not, um, beating them is still impressive. Cardiff are still second in the league now.
Yeah, I think that they are something like out of how many games is it? 8 games this season. They've won 6.
They are not weak. They are for all intents and purposes the strongest region at the moment.
Yeah.
And if we want to, as I believe, take that mantle from them, then we need to win on the weekend. And I believe we can do that if we attack in a similar way that we did against UBB. Think about how great the attack was looking towards the end of that game.
Mm.
And I really I like Cardiff. I like watching Cardiff. I think they're an entertaining team. But Callum Sheedy and Johan Lloyd are not Matthew Jalibert. Tom Bowen is a very good winger. He is not Louis BLBRA. Um, if we play the way we did against UBB, we should win. If we use the same strategy, if we defend the midfield a little bit more tidily, because Cardiff do love a big forward trundling up and then hitting on a pop pass, which was a little bit of a problem against UBB. I think we can win it potentially comfortably if we follow a similar game plan.
I'm having a wee look at the stats on the URC website. Unfortunately, Cardiff are higher than us in most of them. It's a bit worrying that Callum Sheedy's learned to kick a goal. I'd prefer if that hadn't happened. Yes, unfortunately, I'm not going to read out these stats. It's not pretty reading, but we know that we started the season poorly and we've since become world beaters. So nothing to worry about, ladies and gentlemen. We are better than them at lineouts.
Well, then we just have to turn it into an American football style series of lineouts, and then everything will be fine.
Yes.
They have earned their position, and they are clearly a good team. But we know that in all of these, shield derbies or whatever you want to call them, it gets very, very close very, very quickly. And apart from, I feel they have a bit more carrying grunt in forwards, but I don't think there is. I wouldn't swap out anyone in the back line. I'm looking forward to presumably seeing Johan Lloyd come off the bench. I think that'll be nice. The Johan
To
Lloyd.
be fair to Johan Lloyd, there were a couple of games where we beat Cardiff and it was mostly because of him. There was one game that I went to at Cardiff Arms Park where we won, but I think we were the worst team, but we had a few players just had worldies. Johan Lloyd, Gareth Davis, I think Johnny Williams just played amazing. I would expect Johnny Williams to come back in for this one. I'm not saying whether I agree with that or not, but that's what I expect to happen. I expect Costello to start. I expect Gareth Davis to start. It's on a Friday night in Cardiff, so they're expecting a big walk-up. Apparently tickets have been flying off the shelves because that's definitely where you keep tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Scarlet's by 2.
Are we expecting anyone significant back? Have we heard anything about Plumtree? Have we heard anything about Murray? Were they just rested on their return?
I haven't
No, I know
heard
Plumtree
anything.
had an injury, but yeah.
I haven't heard anything. So I don't know, is the answer.
If we get one of them back, that would be huge. Cardiff have their own injuries going on at the moment. They Halfpenny starting at 15 on the weekend, a little bit of a surprise. So I think I give us a good chance to go down there and put about 9 points on them. I think if we can attack in the same way we did against UBB, and I don't think the Cardiff defense is going to be more aggressive than the UBB blitz was. That was terrifying. Did you see the dominant tackle stats?
No.
from that game. It was absolutely terrifying. Jefferson Poirot basically had us on toast. It was like 2 dominant tackles. I mean, it's not how we defend, but it was something ridiculous, like 12 to 20 dominant tackles to 2. I have to look it up.
Okay. I thought you said 12 to 20. I was like, well, that's a lot for a game. But if it was 12 to 2, then that is quite bad.
It's just in terms of dominant tackles. Yeah, I'll find it here now really, really quickly. In defense, it is dominant tackles. Oh, that's terrifying. We had 2 dominant tackles in the entire game. Alice, me, and Dan Davis. And then pretty much, and then 11 players in UBB had dominant tackles, with 5 of them having 2 or more. So yeah, it was a pretty terrifying experience. I don't expect that we will face that sort of defense from Cardiff.
How many tackles did they make in total?
Not actually that many compared. Like, it wasn't that shocking. It was.
They made more tackles than us. We actually had more possession.
141 tackles to 110. So not huge. But they had a completion of 91. But obviously they love an offload, and that sort of pads their, or not pads it. It makes our stats look a little bit worse. But yeah.
I mean, look, we conceded 8 tries. There's your answer.
Yeah, that's it's still single digits. It's not that.
We were far from the least competitive team this weekend, by the way. Some of the scorelines in the Champions Cup this weekend have been absolutely horrendous.
Although,
so anyway, we're going to bring some of that Champions League quality down to Cardiff, show them the levels, teach them what it takes to be at our level.
Humble them.
And yeah, 5 points for the boys. Happy days. What a way to start your weekend.
Could be worse. Well, thanks for having me over again, Huw. It's been fun.
It has been fun. I like the idea now that someone's only listened to this on audio and thinks, did you go around his house, really?
Yeah, we're actually just in different rooms. That's for the acoustics. That's the problem.
So that does happen at work sometimes, where we go, should we go in a room? And you go, do you know what it is? It's just easier to have a Teams call, even though we're in the same office.
Yeah, I've done that. I think minimum distance about 5 meters away from someone before. So yeah, same room, 5 meters away. Annoying because you can hear them about half a second.
Yeah.
Through the headphones behind how they're actually speaking, but yeah.
Or if it's you two in the room and there's someone else on the call who's not in the room, and you accidentally start talking to each other in real life, and the other person on the call is like, "Hello, what are you saying? Please come off mute."
Yeah, or I've been guilty of typing in Slack during calls to other people at the same time and causing much confusion. Just one quick final thing, rugby wise. Big ups to the Rodney Parade Massive for getting a win. Truly massive.
No. We don't do that here. No.
Oh, they were great. They were great. Well, okay, they weren't great, but they won.
Well done.
And those are not the same thing, but they did win a game, and it's and I'm really happy for them. Really pleased. And I have to go there in like 3 weeks, and I'd rather I don't get my head taken off by someone. So,
all right,
congratulations, everyone. I'm avoiding enemies. It's very different.
Okay. All right. Well, if you've made it this far into the podcast, Dragons fans, well done. Thank you. Subscribe, like, comment, hype. There's a hype button. Don't really know what it does, but it's there. Click it. And yeah, much appreciated. And we'll talk to you next week. Ta-ra.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.